Welcome back to 23 Minute Reads with me, Maya D. This is kind of like my accountability vlog because in these short videos, I share with you my takeaways from my current reading. Right now, that is Dance and Belonging, and this is book 11 of my 23 to 23 challenge, where I'm reading 23 minutes per day, every day, as an action of self-love, as an investment into myself, and as a way of providing myself with some, couldn't even get the word out. Providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. Hoping that you will join me along in this journey by commenting down there in that comment section so there's an actual dialogue going on. Having in mind that while I have several decades of experience as an educator, as a dancer, and a curriculum writer, I'm not the know-all be-all for this book. I'm simply providing a space for dialogue. Well, this week, I read pages 153 through the end. I'm kind of amazed at the fact that I'm read 11 books so far. So 153 through the end, and here are my 3 takeaways. Takeaway number 1 is CRT. In chapter 6, under the priming short-term change section, we find the mention of CRT. CRT is actually short for it's early in the morning and I'm trying. CRT is actually short for culturally relevant teaching. And I was first introduced to this term through another book that I read in my challenge, which was McCartney Brown's Dance Pedagogy for a Diverse World. And it's something that I've embedded in my classes going forward. In this book, we find the words, and I quote, "Culturally relevant teaching is a crucial component of undoing implicit bias," end quote. CRT charges the educator with decentering dominant culture by intentionally using materials and resources that reflect the marginalized populations of their class. And while I understood this as a method of teaching that could help to build senses of belonging for those students, it wasn't until reading this book that I considered there would be other benefits, or this other benefit. And that other benefit has to do with potentially creating other lived experiences that run counter to the explicit memories of that dominant culture, right? So you're talking about dominant culture has these memories of how things happen or should be, or any of those things that you want to interject right there. And by intentionally using those materials, those resources from the marginalized population, you're now giving them new experiences about what those populations are and how they live and things like that. So this kind of goes back to one of the things that we've mentioned in previous videos, creating those new experiences. These new experiences create new memories that work against and possibly undo previous biases. Takeaway number 2 is critical friend protocol. In an earlier set of videos, I shared my takeaways from Liz Lerman's critical response process. That was a really great book. And there's a link in the description below if you want to watch those videos. I bring that up because critical friend protocol reminds me of that critical response process. In chapter 6, Dance and Belonging, the author writes, here we go with a quote, "For a more structured approach to examining negative manifestations of bias in dance education, I offer Critical Friends Protocol," end quote. So an outside set of eyes can be helpful in making a creation successful, however you define successful, such as, and in this case, that outside set of eyes is going to be that neutral question section of the critical response process. So during the neutral question step, the audience members offer objective questions about their work rather than their opinion. So rather than saying like, "I really liked it," they're going to offer these objective questions. This encourages the artist to reflect on their choices in order to respond. And it also helps the artist to see where they might be allowing their own biases manifest in the artwork. The other side of that is the person asking the question, in order to develop a neutral question, you also have to check your own biases, right? So an example of that is, rather than saying, why did you use those green costumes? You could say something to the effect of, what was your selection process in the development of the costumes, right? So if I ask about those green costumes directly, it makes it clear that I feel some kind of way about the green, and I need to check myself about why I feel some kind of way. Asking that neutral question allows the artist to dig deeper into their selection process. So there's a lot of identification, right? I'm identifying as the question asker. I'm identifying my own bias in what I'm about to say, but also for that artist, they're possibly identifying the ways that their bias manifests in the piece. Davis offers this short description of how the critical friends protocol works. So let me run it back. So I'm saying that the critical response process reminds me of that critical friends feedback. And I'm going to describe that critical feedback process as a process that allows teachers to support other teachers in identifying their bias and how they might affect and manifest within their curriculum and in their praxis, right? So if critical feedback is an idea that is used or developed by an artist, this critical friends feedback is a similar process that can be used specifically in the education realm by educators. Takeaway number 3 are patterns of application. So in chapter 7, which is titled Reintegration, we find the section called Addressing Bias in Dance History, Theory, and Writing Courses. And in that section, we find this quote, and I quote, Dr. Clement's Modern Dance History undergraduate course, students pull back socially normative veils to see patterns of application and immersion of racial bias in the messaging and employ methodical processes of research to disrupt those biases, end quote. You kind of have to identify a pattern in order to disrupt said pattern. Do we agree with that statement? You can always let me know in the comments below as things are popping up for you. The previous quote was Davis's takeaway from a discussion that she has with Dr. Karen Clement about curriculum. This notion of identifying a pattern can also be found in the questions that Davis offers her students following a reading. So the students read, and Davis will point out some salient points, but then encourage the students to dig deeper by a series of questions. There are 7 questions given in the text, and I felt that this was also a way to encourage dance research. As stated in the book, Undergraduate Research in Dance, the idea is to add to the discussion, not to just repeat what's already been said. So as a dance researcher, I'm looking to add more to the conversation of dance, not to just repeat what's already been said. And in order to not repeat what's already been said, I have to identify some of the patterns of what's being discussed and look for holes, blind sight, spaces, opportunities to speak about something else. Does that make sense? Well, I hope that you've added to our discussion by dropping some comments in that comment section down there below, so there's an actual dialogue going on. Or you can simply drop the book emoji, just so that I know you're here with me. The emoji or the word, either of them works fine. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Remember to like and subscribe. My name is Maya D, and this was 21. This wasn't 21-minute reads. This was 23-minute reads. Stay blessed, spread a good word, and have an awesome day. Take care.